They require us to inject drugs into people who don't need it. The business model of a vaccine is they cannot be sued if the vaccine kills somebody.
Tell you what one of the punchlines of this virus is. It's the bloody vaccine. Very early on after this virus started, I read a report about an Israeli government minister saying we're far ahead of anyone else in developing a vaccine. Oh really? I thought this is interesting. And it turns out that from 2016, this scientific organization in Israel, which is all connected to the government like they all are, had been using coronavirus to test its technology. And so because of that, it's further along the road, it says, to developing a vaccine. And one of the scientists said, it was pure luck that we chose that. Well, some may believe that.
Here's what everybody needs to remember, that it was Fauci that went against a government moratorium in 2014 to stop any chimeric research on viruses, and he bypassed that moratorium, went against what the government put out, and funded the research that developed the COVID-19 today. He's the one who did this, and he's up there talking about a vaccine. How does he know that in 2017 he comes up and he says, hey guys, there's going to be a pandemic in this presidential term? How does he know that?
The World Health Organization, the number one funder is the US government. I think the number is $600 million. I don't know the exact number, but I think it's around a $600 million number. The second largest contributor to the World Health Organization is a man named Bill Gates. Bill Gates in 2015 gave a TED talk regarding the biggest threat being pandemics and how that's something we need to be worried about. But also in 2011, he did an interview with Dr. Gupta of CNN. I think it's February 4th when they did an interview. And a lot of people were talking about the fact that Bill Gates' biggest messaging is depopulation. So what I did is I went on Google, I typed in the words, did Bill Gates say to depopulate the world? So the first thing that pops out is Snopes. So I go to Snopes and I pull it up and it says inaccurate, false. Then it puts the transcript on the bottom, which I have it. I'd like to read it because this leads me to a question here. The question asked by Dr. Gupta is $10 billion over the next 10 years to make it the year of the vaccine. What does this mean exactly? Bill Gates, over this decade, we believe unbelievable progress can be made in both inventing new vaccines and making sure that they get out to all the children who need them. We only need about 6 or 7 more, and then you would have all the tools to reduce childhood death. Next word he uses, reduce population growth and everything. The stability, the environment benefits from that, et cetera, et cetera.
Vaccines, Bill Gates, Robert Kennedy Jr., that's not your territory. But I do know a lot about vaccines, and it's big business.
So then I went online to look at this video. I went and typed in the following words on Google: Bill Gates, Dr. Gupta, reduce population 2011. Those were the words I put on Google. The first link that came at the top was the Snopes that said it's not factual, it's false. The second link that came up was a CNN link to the article and the interview of February 2011. When I clicked on it, the link was a dead link. Then I tried it on my phone, then I tried it on another phone, it was all a dead link. Then I had one of my employees here from Norway who uses a VPN from Norway to try to go log in from a Norway VPN. He was able to get into the site. When he gets into the site, his link with the transcript was there, but the video was taken down. You couldn't watch the video.
We have already had Denmark announce that any vaccine for coronavirus will be mandatory. Now, if you can give me a better definition of fascism than the state telling you what will go into your body, then I'd like to bloody hear it. They don't even know what the vaccine is, but it's mandatory. That in the period up to this, more and more pressure for mandatory vaccinations of other kinds have been appearing in America. We've got this health secretary in Britain saying he's minded to consider it. What do you mean you're minded to consider it? You'll be in another ministry shortly. You were in another one not long ago. It's your civil service permanent government that's actually pressing for it. You're just the front man. So you've had all this period of pressing for mandatory vaccinations. And when this vaccination for this virus comes up, there is going to be enormous pressure to make it compulsory.
If they can get it mandated that the vaccine be mandatory, and then the business model works. So apparently, on my Twitter, I drifted into pharma, big pharma. And I talked to my friend who was a doctor who was taken down because he was saying the same thing. He says, you just stepped on Superman's cape. Don't go there. It's too big a business.
So what mandatory vaccinations are saying is, we are going to insist by law that your children are vaccinated, and we know by doing that that some of them who wouldn't otherwise have been vaccinated are going to take the consequences.
What we're protesting is the insurance companies, the health insurance and big pharma. They require us to inject drugs into people who don't need it to keep the price high. And it said when we refuse to inject whatever they inject, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. They said, we can't do it in good conscience. We're killing people. Or we're just jacking up the bill. And only until I went into the emergency room for one stitch, when I got the bill for $34,000, did I get the message. And then I went to another red pill, this time it was in Connecticut. There was a doctor who stood up there and he explained the business of vaccines. What I'm threatened on all the time on Twitter, and the David Icke and those guys, the business model of a vaccine is they cannot be sued if the vaccine kills somebody. So that takes away the whole impetus of responsibility. And then they said there's so many vaccines now that they don't really have to track them.
In the 1980s, the Congress gave immunity from prosecution to the drug companies for vaccines. And you know why this was in the official documentation. The reason they said they gave them immunity from prosecution, so now in America there is a vaccine court which has already paid out something like $42 billion for vaccine injuries, and the bar to prove that is very high. It's now paid by the taxpayer. And so the drug companies have no economic consequences for damaging vaccinations. The reason they said we must give immunity is because they said vaccines are innately unsafe and cannot be made not to be. Thus, we're going to give you immunity so you'll continue making them. Because at that point, before that legislation came in, the drug companies were facing a massive number of lawsuits for vaccine injuries. Now, you know what's happened since that legislation in 1986? The number of vaccines and the different kinds of vaccines have absolutely exploded. Why? Because there's no consequence anymore. And if you look at the statistics, if you vaccinate a large number of people, you are going to have major life-changing implications for a number of those people. My children, my boys, have not been vaccinated once in their life. They didn't have childhood diseases. Their immune systems are on fire because they weren't compromised by a tidal wave of toxic shite while their immune systems were still developing. Just look at the problem reaction solution. You want to introduce a vaccine. What is in the vaccine? We don't know. But, we're all gonna die. Vaccinate me. Don't even think about it. Survival mechanism.
It's almost like, here's the problem, the Hegelian dialectic. This is the problem. Blame Johnny. I have the solution. I am the hero.
Can we just understand that, and then we might get some kind of grasp on how this world is run? They don't care about us. They use the excuse of caring about us to justify what they want to do.